What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Pretty Girl Progression Podcast. I am your girl, Sherelle. If you are new here, welcome. I hope you stay. And if you've been here before, girl, welcome back. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Now, ladies, I have created something super special for you, which is a free ebook. This is 10 tips to personal development. I mean, we're talking everything from accountability to doing your personal work to grounding. So if you want to grab that, you can go to www.prettygirlprogression.com today. Also, I've created a 30-day devotional. Now, this devotional has everything from biblical verses, a message from me to you, and also affirmation. So you definitely want to go grab that. And it also helps support the channel. And then I could put on events and just give you more resources to help your personal growth. Now, all that housekeeping out the way, I have an extremely special guest. I have a gem for y'all. Not only is she a founder, CEO of The Official Glue, she is an author, international speaker, and she's just a Jill of all trades. She is the professional network marketer, okay? Or networker, I shall say. Y'all, give a round of applause to Tollisha Joseph. Hey, Tollisha, aka Official Glue. How are you?
Hello.
How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing amazing. I was sharing how this is a long time coming. So I am officially here, and I'm so excited about being here.
Yes, I'm so happy that we can do this. Just a little bit of background because Tollisha was like, this has been a long time coming. I actually met you when I was getting presented, or I should say my ex-co-host and our team was getting presented with the Leap of Faith Award for Content Creator. So I think that kind of like started our relationship and being at content creator events. And when I did my 1-year anniversary with my previous co-host, you were one of the presenters as well. So I just love your energy. I love the gems that you provide. And I want you to be able to tell the people a little bit more about yourself. Is that okay?
Absolutely. I'm always into sharing who I am and what I do. So my name is Tollisha Joseph. I am the founder and CEO of The Official Glue. And what we do here is we teach people how to network effectively and get them on the yes side of their business. I always get questions about what the yes side is, and I'm sure we're going to break that down today. But That's what I love to do. And because of that, I have gotten opportunities to speak internationally. I've gotten opportunities to be a co-author in a number of books. I've gotten an opportunity to be a collaborator in a authoring project. So there's been just a lot of opportunities that have been presented to me through doing what I'm passionate about, which is helping people learn how to network better.
Yes. And I mean, I know we all can gain a lot of information and knowledge about networking better. And I have so many things we could talk about. So I just wanted to know, what made you get into networking? What started that?
Yeah, what you said is absolutely true to my life. I'm like a Jill of all trades. I've done so many things. And I think the thing that really got me to even think about what do I want to do with this part of my life. I can't say the rest because I can't commit to like saying this will be the last thing that I do for my life. But what do I want to do for this part of my life? And I'm a mom. I have 2 boys, one 17 and one 13. And I started to think about my 17-year-old son. I think at that point he was 13 or even younger, maybe 12 or 11. But I started to look at him and I was like, I was working at a bar because I was a bartender for 5 years.
Really?
And I worked at a bar. Yeah. And I loved it. I did it by choice, not by force, right? I was an arbitrator before that. So I went from corporate America into this hospitality industry that was it just rocked me. And I loved it so much. But the one thing I didn't like was how my coworkers would always complain about why they're not making money. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is the easiest job in the world and you make so much money doing it. Like, what are all these complaints about? And I started to figure out like what the complaints were about. And it was really their inability to network. That's why they were complaining about not making any money. So one day I had one of my coworkers come up to me, and he was going to like a marketing job fair kind of thing. And he
Yeah.
was like, do I look good? And do you think this is work? And I'm like, dude, you're going into marketing and you look like a corporate office worker. Like the vibe ain't vibing. It's not vibing. And so then it just clicked right away. Like, I need to help people like him learn how to do this better so that they don't have to run coffee.
Okay. For real. So, okay, what are some of the things that you would say that is the hardest thing for people to grasp as far as networking? Like, for example, me. I don't care how I look. I don't care how much energy I have. I get so nervous to this day to walk in a room and give the whole spiel. Oh, I'm Sherelle, and I run, Pretty Girl Progression that offers resources for Black women, women in general, for personal growth. Like the whole elevator thing, it really just gets me. So how do you what advice do you give people who are like me, who still struggle with walking into a room and giving their elevator pitch? Or should they even give an elevator pitch?
I think that the struggle is that we don't want to talk about ourselves, period. This is where the elevator pitch idea came from. It's like, oh, well, you don't want to talk about yourself, then this is something you can say, right? Say this. And the roboticness of the say this makes you feel more uncomfortable. So I think there is a warm space in that. And just knowing what you do and sticking to your story will help you be comfortable in any room. Knowing how to manipulate the words in a comfortable way when you are going in makes it comfortable for you to start talking about yourself. But I think where people struggle the most is, how do I talk about me? We're so eager to talk about everyone else, and we will not bring ourselves to the table. We won't bring our values to the table. We won't even share what we're passionate about most of the time, because it's so easy to focus on somebody else. And it's hard for us to kind of turn the lens back to us and say, well, what's great about us? What are we doing that's great? Because we feel like that's wrapped in pride, that's wrapped in ego, that's wrapped in all these different elements that everyone else said that this means. And it doesn't mean any of that. Once we cut that out, we're able to be like, okay, I can step into a room confidently and talk about myself. I'm just as valuable as everybody else here. They deserve to hear about what it is that I'm doing. And it becomes more comfortable because we're comfortable doing it.
It's interesting because I started the podcast and I love hearing people's story. And so when you say that people are uncomfortable talking about themselves, I actually, during the podcast era of my life, I noticed that people love to just share, right? But I think it's about what you're sharing, like, which brings me to this. Networking sober. How do you feel about that? Because I think when people start to drink and do all the things, it kind of goes into a whole nother conversation about their personal lives and things like that. What do you think is like the maybe limit networking sober? Do it, don't do it? What's your take on that?
I think that doing anything with a sober mind is a better idea, right? And I don't mean sober-minded by not drinking. I mean sober-minded by being able to have your faculties in order, regardless of what you're doing. So I guess this is a great question because it layers into the first question. When you're not comfortable talking about yourself, and then you go into a space and the first thing you decide to do is go to the bar and get a drink because the drink is going to soothe your nerves about talking about yourself, you're not going to get an effective result because you're trying to submit or suppress something that is already a problem for you. So all that's going to do is amplify the problem. You're going to wind up stumbling over your words. You're going to wind up talking about things that don't matter. You're going to wind up creating a bigger problem because your idea of going to the bar was to suppress the issue that I don't really feel comfortable about talking about me. So I think
Yeah.
if you are already comfortable talking about you and you decide that you want to just have a little drinky drink, then great, because all that's going to do is amplify your need to talk about yourself. You're going to like amp it up, right? So I think we have to know how we come into spaces and what mindset we're in when we start before we go to the bar and start drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of curious, like, did you ever, growing up, did you ever have, or did you ever struggle with talking about yourself confidently? Because I know I definitely have. I didn't feel like I brought enough to the table or, what I was doing. I just haven't hit that strive in my career or business. So did you ever struggle with that, talking about yourself confidently growing up?
I don't think I ever struggled with talking about myself confidently. I think where my struggle was is I thought that people didn't take me seriously. So there's another level to this where you go into a room and you're presenting confident, but you're really insecure. Right? You're presenting confident, but you are insecure because you feel like people aren't going to take you seriously. So now you over project and you push everything on everybody. And I'm guilty. I did that. I would get into a room and I would be the loudest. I would put myself in the face because I want people to take me seriously. So it's exposing an insecurity in me of, it's not that I'm not confident. It's just that you're not taking me seriously. So I need to make sure that you hear what I'm saying. I need to make sure that I tell you what I want to. I need to make sure, which is not attractive. It's just not attractive. So I think that I've never really struggled with speaking about myself confidently. I struggled about pacing myself confidently and positioning myself confidently.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. Okay. So, you mentioned that you have two boys, you are a wife. How do you balance? Because as a networker, you have to be at so many events, I'm sure, or put yourself out there. You can't just stay in the house and, think everything's going to come to you. How do you balance family and getting out there and making sure your business thrives?
I think this is so funny because we had a conversation about this yesterday on LinkedIn Audio, which is a great conversation. And I don't really think that it's about trying to balance things. I think it's about putting things in priority and organizing your life, having an organized system around how you are operating your life. The first thing I did before I even started to market my idea was I talked to my family about the idea and we came up with a system for our family before I even took this product to the world because my family is most important. So some of the questions I asked my family, I said, hey, I'm going to be out of the house more trying to develop this branded idea. That means that we're going to have to share responsibilities. So my son started doing laundry. They started to wash dishes. My husband took over the cooking, so he was cooking a little bit more. So we started to share the duties of the house. And then the other thing that I asked is like, okay, what days do we want to spend time together as a family? What day is going to be a day that we are absolutely a hell no day? I don't care who calls. I don't care who asks. It's a hell no. We're not doing anything. This is our family day and it means something to us. And then what is our optional day? What is the day that we could opt into hanging out or we could opt into working? So we came up with that system before I even marketed this to the world. So nobody gets access to that time, period. No one gets access to that. And then I started, I did what most of us do, which is come from 9 to 5 and create a 9 to 5, right? And I'm like, and then that was a short-lived idea. I'm like, I don't know if this 9 to 5 thing is working for me. So I started to really pay attention to myself and my body and recognize like, when am I the most energized? When do I actually want to talk to people? When do I want to be outside? When do I want to be energetic? Like, when does this feel good for me to even do it? And that is what my schedule is like right now. And then I recognize like, man, I'm getting on people's calendars and their calendars open for 30 days. I don't know what 30 days from now is going to look like. I cannot guarantee that my kids aren't going to want to sign up for something and then I'm now not available for the last half of the month. So I started to create more organize boundaries. And we hear like create boundaries, but that's a big idea. I started to really create boundaries that were very organized, like boundaries around my schedule. It's 11 to 7. I work 11 to 7. I don't work on Sundays. Saturdays are a half
Close
day.
like Chick-fil-A, okay?
Yeah, no Sunday. Saturdays are a half day, 12 to 2. I take one call. I'll do one thing. Or I'll do one thing. It's either one call or one thing. I'm not doing all things on Saturdays.
Yes.
Saturdays like that. And what else? My calendar's only open for 2 weeks at a time.
Yeah, I noticed that. Even scheduling this with you, like, I was like, I can't see your calendar a month from now. You're like, yep, it's just this. You know what I mean? You let me know. But other than that, that's just this, which I absolutely love that you stay organized. And I love that you set those boundaries and And on top of it, you have a supportive family to be able to sit down and say, hey, this is what we need to do. Or what does this look like for you guys? Because I'm going to be out of the house doing this, right? What advice would you give to people who might not have that? Or maybe if you had an experience with friends, girlfriends who don't have that support system, what advice would you give to somebody who kind of struggles in that department?
Well, I mean, let's not get it twisted. They didn't start supportive, right? I had a lot of kickback on this because I had to get to my family and tell them, if you want to have time with me, you need to put it on my calendar too. This is not exclusive, right? Because when we change what we're doing, we have to retrain people. Every time that you create a change in your life, you have to retrain your people in your life around how to operate within that change. And that's for everybody. That's for the husband. That's for the kids. That's for the friends. And I would say that we have to take more ownership on the training side of our lives and own that we have to train people how to operate within our lives. They're not going to just know. They're not going to just respect the newness of your life. They expect the oldness of your life. They don't accept the newness of your life. So in that case, we have to be more inclined to do the training and not just give up on people because they're not accepting our new rules. Well, they don't know them and they're not acclimated to them. They're not practiced in them. We have to be graceful.
Wow. Ooh, y'all, I hope y'all open your ears at this point because, wow, you are giving me gems, okay? I love that you're retraining people in order to adapt to the new system. They don't know, so you have to show them. I'm actually curious about the highs and the lows in business with you, right? As an entrepreneur, obviously, it ain't the corporate 9 to 5, I get a paycheck. And a lot of people don't talk about the lows in the business, but they always celebrate the highs. What has the lows taught you within your business?
I always say when I get asked this question that I'm extremely blessed because God has done something amazing for me and letting me experience this in a cushioned space before I got into the real playing field, right? Because remember, I said I was a bartender, and in bartending, you're pretty much an independent contractor working with underneath an organization. You run your own money. You are your own accountant. You are doing all of the money handling for yourself. And the other thing that we don't recognize in those fields is that they are seasonal fields. It's not like you're going to be bartending and making money all year long. That's not how it works. There's a pop where the money is popping, and then there is a pop where the money is it's fizzled out. You ain't getting none. There's $25 nights. That happens, right? And so I think for me, taking that experience and using it as my training wheels, I have an understanding that there will be popping seasons and there will be dissolving seasons. So preparing accordingly for that. My first year in bartending, what a mess. I made $60,000 on a part-time gig. I was working 25 hours a week. I ended the year with $60,000 and I'm like, where did all my money go? I don't even know what this is. It's summer and I'm broke. What's going on? That because the money came fast. It was cash cow, and I was spending it as fast as I was getting it, right? I was used to paychecks on Friday, and going into this everyday having cash idea was an adjustment, and was nobody teaching me how to manage that. So
Yeah.
I learned a hard lesson of going through a year of work and then coming out of that work and being like, I don't even have any money. I have no money.
Yeah.
And
I
getting my
used to
tax
bartend. I
return
get
and being
it.
like, wait, the numbers the math ain't mathing here. It don't make no
For
sense.
sure.
And so after that experience, that is when I recognized like, oh, okay, I need to be more strategic about this even. I
Yeah.
downloaded a calculator on my phone so I would document every time what my tips were every night. I knew what my high days were, what my high earning days were, what my low earning
Yeah.
days were. When there were like a lot of breaks, this is when I would take my vacation because I'm not going to work if I ain't getting paid. Like I started to systemize this in a corporate way. So I think I don't really have those type of struggles in business because I created the system before I had the business.
Come on. It's like you've learned so much from your experience, and you've taken every experience and you've added into what you're doing right now. And I absolutely love that you recognize that and you take it for what it is. So that's so cool. And speaking of like your business, you are the branding queen. I don't care what nobody say. One thing you gonna do, Miss Tollisha, is brand yourself. I was like, oh man, when we do this episode, I'm so curious how, because you collaborate when you're doing a pod or anything with somebody. I'm like, how are you gonna have all my pinks and blues on your page? Because you're orange and blue, and I feel like and white, right?
Yeah.
Your branding is so perfect, honestly. What made you go so hard with your branding? Because some people kind of are just trying to figure out, what do I want my brands to be? What do I want the colors? What do I want the consistency to look like? What made you, number one, like really stick to that brand of colors and you use it anywhere and everywhere? Talk about the
Well,
importance of branding.
Well, the one thing I will say is that when I started to develop like what my brand was going to be, I think people get it twisted and are like, "Oh, orange and blue are your favorite colors." No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not. They're not at all. Blue is my husband's favorite color. Yellow is mine, right? But
Mm-hmm.
one thing I wanted to do is when I was working in the restaurant, my customers at that time would always come to me and be like, girl, you the glue. You just stick everything to make together. You make everything stick. Ooh, 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 right? And so that was one of, oh, this is something I probably should brand, but I didn't have that idea. And then when I was growing up, my grandmother would tell us family, I grew up with like 13 people in a house, really. And the consensus there was like, y'all need to stick together. Y'all are the glue. And if y'all
Oh,
can't stick
yes.
together, y'all aren't going to go anywhere. You got to do it together. So glue kind of followed me through my life. That name, it was given to me. I didn't choose it.
Come
I just
on
want
now.
people to know that first. And then when I started to think about that, I'm like, well, let's go Elmer's. Let's just run with Elmer's glue, right? Let's orange and blue,
Mm-hmm.
Elmer's glue. That's it, right? It's a
Yeah.
simple thing. But then there was a time, because if you go all the way down, I was on the struggle bus just like everybody else. Like I was on there hard. I know what to put on my post. And it was not because I was struggling, it was shame. If you really
It was
want to get
shame.
into it, it was like, they're not, no one's going to believe me. No one's going to take me seriously. I'm just saying I'm starting a business. What do I know? I don't know anything about business. So didn't want to promote the brand. Didn't want
Ooh.
to, because I was ashamed of my brand that I was creating.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then it just clicked to me one day, if I don't take it seriously, no one else is going to take it seriously. The same way that Target is red everywhere, the same way that Walmart is blue and yellow everywhere, the same way that Mac is black and white everywhere. Like, why can't my colors be everywhere? So I started to take it
Absolutely.
really seriously and say, my colors are going to be painting the world. I'm painting this world orange and blue. They're going to be everywhere. When you see me, you're going to see it. Because
Yes.
we are not two different organisms. I am it and it is me. and we are
Come
going to do it together.
on.
We're not two different organisms. I am the creator of this. I'm the brand of the brains behind the brand. And if I can't believe that I believe in my brand, no one else is going to believe that I believe in my brand. So I go hard for my brand. I go hard for my brand. My brand is important to me.
Come on. Okay, first of all, you said a lot, and let me scale back because I can feel myself getting excited. And when I get excited, it just starts to take over. First and foremost, I got to give a huge shout out to, is it The Godly World? The Godly World? Well, West the Tech, he has a cousin who is phenomenal at branding, right? And I remember having the conversation of, Pretty Girl Progression was its own little page. And then you have Sherelle's page. Godly Wood Girl is the name. Godly Wood Girl. Shout out to her, Steph, because she is like the brand master as well. But basically, I had Pretty Girl Progression page on Instagram. And then I also had my Sherelle. And West Tech was saying, like, these aren't two different people. It's you. Like, you need to kind of like lay a little off of the PGP page and stay focused on your person, because you are PGP. It's not two separate entities. Like, and I love that you said that, because I've struggled that for a while. I'm like, okay, I have the support on my regular page, but I'm struggling right now with getting my numbers up on my PGP page. So now I'm transferring all that energy to my personal page. I don't notice that you have two separate pages. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
And that's because what I believe for my brand is what I believe as a person. I believe the things that I present from my brand. They're not two different things. You're getting my beliefs. When you get in touch with my brand, you're getting in touch with my values. You're getting in touch with my core systems. You're getting in touch with how I operate. It's not going to be different. There is no difference for me. I do think that there will be a point as my brand grows that my brand grows out of me. It grows out of me. It becomes bigger than me. I do believe that. But right now, it is me. And until I get pushed out of that brand, it's getting pushed out of me.
Come on.
So that's what's happening right now. And I don't believe in the personal brand, business brand idea. I think we need to grow one and use the other, or grow the one and use that as leverage to grow the other one. But we can't be growing these two ideas simultaneously, because it's confusing. So when you ask the question, like, what tips on branding, it is confusion. If you have one page that's like, your personal life, and then you have this other page that's presenting a whole nother way of living, it's divided. This idea used to work before we were integrated into a digital world. In the digital world, it's you get both sides of you every day as often as I want. I'm not confusing people about what side of me they're going to get every day as often that they want. I don't need you to feel like I have two faces. I only have one. I have one face. Great. And that's all I got. So it's a strategic idea for me to not have two. And also what that requires from me is to have some boundaries around my life. Because if you don't see it on my page, then it's not for you to consume.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big believer in that. So I'm curious, first of all, the faith that you have to have in order to step out and build your own business. I believe you are a believer and you know exactly what you want and how it looks, but there's also this force that's within you that's like pushing you, right? The faith. Let's talk about faith some. You mentioned your grandmother, and I love talking about the elders and everything. So what was it like growing up and like having this faith within you, or did you grow that as you got older? Did you have somebody that you looked up to that like instilled this like God body faith within you? Because it's all over you. It's all over you when you speak, when you move. So let's talk about faith some. Where did you get this from? Like where?
I think that the truth is, for a long time, I probably was running away from it. And so my grandmother was a traditional Bible woman. I think she had a lot of faith, but the way she imparted it in us is traditional Bible principles, right? I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a house where we like recited the Lord's Prayer every night. Like every
Mm-hmm.
night. We go to bed and that was the prayer. No one ever explained what the prayer meant. We just needed to do that. We had
Right.
to know 23rd Psalm because we just needed to know it. No one ever broke it down and told us the meanings of it. We just had to know it. And I think by the time I got to like 13, I kind of just rebelled from the whole idea. I remember my sister going and getting baptized, and I was like, I'm never doing that. Like, count me out.
Mm-hmm.
We are not doing that. Y'all ain't dunking me under no water and bringing me back up and talking about I'm new. I like where I'm at, right? Like, we're
Mm-hmm.
not doing that. But I also, as life progressed, my mom got very ill, and I remember like surrendering to God at that point, but not really surrendering to God, just doing these blanket prayers of like, if you please help heal my mama, I will be good. I'll be better. I will do
Mm-hmm.
right. I think I made a covenant with him that day, but I didn't completely surrender to him that day.
Yes, I understand. I understand.
And
Wow.
so I think the complete surrender happened for me um, in a hardship. I was going through a really hard time in my life, in my relationship, and I then decided that I can't do this. Like I'm too broken. I can't do this, and I don't even know how I'm going to get out of this or get in it. I don't know what's going on, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
do this. Like if I keep trying, I'm gonna die. Like
Come on.
I just
Wow.
can't do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
just had to give it over. I had to give it over. And what I've learned in the progression of this faith walk is that every day is a surrendering day. Like every day is a
Every
surrendering day.
day.
It's because every day we face new challenges. Every day we have new problems, and every day we have to decide to give them over. Every day we have to
Yes.
wake up and say, you know what, whatever you want me to do, whatever challenge you're going to put in front of me, I know it's only for you that I'm going through these
Yes.
challenges. It's only for you that I'm facing this problem. It's only because of you that I have this opportunity. It's only because of you that I get to do these things. So whatever it is that you want to do, then we just have to do it. Like that's just it.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
in this body that I am in right now, I understand when it is me and when it is him. I have clear distinction on when I want to do something and when he's telling me to do something. And there are
Yeah.
battles in that, right? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, every time he tells me to do something, I just move.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
are times that I'm like, are you serious? Like, can we just discuss this real quick? Because I think that what you're trying to tell me to do right now sounds real ridiculous and crazy. And I don't even know if I am capable of doing what you're asking me to do right now because I'm a little girl. I am shy. I am shameful. I have insecurities. I'm dealing with a lot. And I don't know if I'm capable of managing the task that you just gave me. I don't know if I'm
Ooh.
capable. And so but I also know that when I do what I'm told, I get what I want. So I just have to live a life of total surrender like every day. And it's not easy to be in a surrendering space. It is
No, it's
challenging,
not.
but I'm willing to be challenged every day for the name of, for God. I'm willing to be challenged. Now, am I willing
Come
to be challenged by you
on.
every day? No, no, ma'am. But I'm so willing to be challenged by him every day because I know that if I take on the challenges, I will always come out better. I will always get better. I will always do better. And
Ooh.
I have no doubt in that. I have no doubt in my mind of that.
I love everything that you're saying right now, and it's so real. It's so vulnerable. And I think it embodies everything that I know that it embodies everything that the official glue has to offer because you welcome the challenge and different perspectives. I know when I post something, you like challenge it and you comment and you and it be thick and it be so on point in what's needed to be heard. So I love that you literally challenge everything and your business is so purposeful. That's why I had to talk a little bit about faith because I know surrendering is so hard. Being obedient is so hard. But once you get over that and you let his will be done, you get what you want. And a lot of times even better than what you expected, right?
Yeah,
So,
and it's
mm,
challenging even for me to comment sometimes. I'm like, ooh, that ain't me. That's gonna ruffle some feathers. Oh my
but you
God.
should. You
But I gotta
should.
do it. But I have to do it,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
sometimes I'm cringing at my own comments. That's the truth. Sometimes this
Listen.
is not because I had the idea of speaking in this way or being that aggressive in the commentary. Sometimes I am just overcome by the spirit to do it. And that is just what I
Mhm.
have to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I definitely wanted to ask you, when you hear Pretty Girl Progression, what does Pretty Girl Progression sound or feel or look like to you?
I think it's such a cute name. I really do. And I think it
Thank
just gives
you.
us the right to be girls and not women all the time, right? And like so we want to be boss babes and grown women this and grown women that, but I think from a girlish perspective, I think girls have opportunities to grow. They have
Yeah.
opportunities to learn. They don't take everything so seriously. They probably do get a little offended at times, but it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a way of being a child. Like, you have the ability to be a child sometimes. And I don't think childlike behavior is appropriate in every setting, but I think with your girlfriends, you could be a little kid. You could play. You could have
Absolutely.
fun. And I think that when you stay in the childlike place, especially when you're going through a relationship with God and you are always presenting yourself as a child in God's presence,
Mm,
you are able to progress in that. Like there's
yes.
room for progression in that. So when I see the Pretty Girl Progression title, I kind of break it up in every little piece. I think it's like, I'm pretty. Well, look at her, she's pretty. But I'm also a little girl and I need growth. I need direction. I need guidance. And I think that there's a declaration of I am progressing in there too. It's not like I'm going to
Absolutely.
stay in this girl way forever in this particular space, but I
Yeah.
am moving forward, but I'm still a little girl. Like there's
Come
a
on.
duality there.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I love to hear that. Thank you for that. Let's talk about your book, Miss Best-Selling Author. Like, let's get into it. Tell the people what your book is all about and what made you start writing a book. That's a huge goal and a task for myself. So please.
Well, so this is crazy. There's a lady named Marshawn Daniels who came to our church locally here, and this is before I even started the business. And we went to like a conference for women, and she was the presenter, and she was like, "Write down your big dream," because she has a book called Dream Big or something, and she's like, "Write down your big dream, be audacious about it." I have no idea why in this notebook I wrote write a book, like really big, took up the whole page. I don't even know where that came from. I never had the vision of writing a book. So years later, I go to the Emmy suites, and I got opportunity to go to be a part of that experience, and I met a woman there. And then a year later, she calls me and she's like, "I'm writing the second version of this book and I want you to be a part of it." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean? I don't write." Like, and crazy thing is in duality, right? I was working on a co-authoring project with one of my clients. So we were in the process of finishing up her book. And then I got the opportunity to be an author in a book. I authored a chapter. The book went bestseller. So
Come on.
I got an opportunity to do that. And what you asked at the beginning of this podcast came right back full circle, because it's like, what am I going to talk about? And the instant messaging that came to me was talk about your anxiety, talk about your struggle with your anxiety. But instantly it was like, I didn't know what perspective to go from. Like, is this a teaching? Like, if you have anxiety, here's what you can do. Or is this a
Mm-hmm.
sharing? And something compelled me to be like, this is more of a sharing space than a teaching space. So I want to kind of move away from being a teacher in any book
Yes.
project that I write. I don't want to be a teacher in the book. I want you to go through the experience and come out in your own learning and your own growth and taking away what you need from these projects that I'm a part of. So when I wrote the chapter, I shared what happened to me. I didn't even know I was anxiety stricken. I had no idea. I went to work one day at this restaurant and like everything started to compile on me. They were just hitting me with questions. Oh, corporate's coming, all this stuff. And I literally lost my sight. I lost my hearing. I couldn't see. I couldn't smell. I like all of my sensories went dead. Like I felt like I was dying. Wow. And I called my dad and I was like, you have to come get me. And the response that I got from my manager at that time was like, oh, well, if you want to go home, you need to bring a doctor's note. And I'm like, I don't need to bring a doctor's note to you if I'm dying. And I quit. I quit that day. I was like, I'm not coming back. I can't, because what that statement said to me is it's this job or you, and I choose the job and I choose me. And I think that was something that was so powerful because I chose myself. I chose to live in that space. So my chapter is all about my anxiety and how I use the glue principles to get through it, which is how I was guided through that, how I leveraged it to create new opportunities, how I gained a better understanding around my experience, and how I'm educating other people on how they can move through that.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of when I had a freaking panic attack working at Hooters, because y'all, the panic attacks are real. So I kind of feel like everything that you described is the same thing. Anxiety, panic attacks, and I remember standing in the middle of the floor, and I just was so overwhelmed. They wanted to call the ambulance, but I was like, child, call my sister. I'm not paying that $500 ambulance bill. Like, I need to go. But it just felt like everything was hitting me at once, you know? So let's even talk about like mental health, like making sure you're good and not sacrificing yourself for a job or, you know, running yourself ragged. You know, I'm sure you've had those experiences, well, even as an entrepreneur. You know, what is mental health to you, and what does that look like to overcome it on a daily, really?
Yeah, I think that the glue principles, right? And these are like my core values of how I run my business. And when I started to think about what acronyms can I use, because I love acronyms, I'm just an acronym girl. And I really was like, okay, guidance, leverage, understanding, education. Those are the principles. And so one thing I recognized when I was going through my anxiety, okay, I left this job, I started working on another job, but then suffered from the same experience. So it's like, it's not the locations, it's how you are positioned. That's what's creating this tension for you. It's not where you are, because you're going to take the same feeling into a new space and have the same result. It doesn't matter where you are. It's the way you're positioning yourself in the places that are going to create the difference for you. So I needed to be guided in how to position myself better in places. And so I really focused on, this is when I really went heavy into my word and started to like just cover myself in it and really just, you know, we hear about this, immerse yourself in the word, but when you understand what immersion is, you are fully submitted and you are immersing yourself in the covering of the word, you understand what that is. There's no better guidance for your life than the word of God.
At all.
So I had to get underneath that covering. And then I had to learn how to leverage the covering. How do I leverage the covering? Because now that I understand and I understand that I need to position myself, I need to have leverage over these positions. I can't just be there. I need to create distance between there and me. There has to be a distance between that. And part of that is speaking up for myself and telling people who I am and what I'm doing and how I bring my value to a table. That creates a lot of distance between the here and the there. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not playing on the same field as everyone else. I'm doing things differently because I am distinctly different. Yes. So once I recognize that is my leverage. And then I had to understand how to pace my leverage. So I needed to understand how to pace it. And in the book, I use gardening references. Really ironic, because I'm like, what does gardening have to do with blue? But God said, write it this way, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the way he tells stories and tell this one, right? So we
Ooh,
use
so
agriculture and the pacing, right? Understanding, like, when you are in a gardening season, and as people, when we are being guided and we're trying to create that leverage, we're in the gardening season. We have to get back in the ground. We have to start pruning and plucking and pulling up the weeds and understanding, like, who we are and how we operate, what our triggers are, what is going to offend us, what is going to affect us, what's going to motivate us, what's going to drive us, what's going to energize us, what's going to depress us. We have to really get a clear understanding of who we are and the garden that we tend. We got to get an understanding of that. So I really had to understand that stuff. Like, I needed to create my triggering list. Like, when I'm in spaces with people and they say certain things, it triggers me. And I need to know that, because if I allow that trigger to activate, they have leverage. If I deactivate that trigger because I know it ahead of time, they're deactivating. Period. It can't affect me. So that's how we create that distance. And then I recognize there's a level of education that needs to be there. And I think this is when I started to activate my love for words. Like, I've always been a lover of words, but I really wasn't into the word. And not the word of the Bible, but the words in the dictionary, and really getting a clear understanding of what, like, words actually mean and not what I think they mean, right? And so I started to fall in love with words. And when I'm educating myself on the true meaning of words, like, what is the true meaning of entrepreneurship? What is the true meaning of advocacy? What is the true meaning of affiliation? What is the true meaning of partnership? What is the true meaning of relationship? What is the true meaning of reciprocity? Once I understood the true meaning of what these things mean, I can actually be true to the meaning and live true to what it is. I can do that once I understand it. So I need to educate myself. And because I educate myself, I get the opportunity to educate others on this. So, yeah.
Come on. Oh, I'm just loving this. I can't wait to watch this back and take my own personal notes. I'm not going to keep you too long because I know that it's your sister's birthday and you have a lot going on. But I couldn't leave without talking about BPN, the Miami chapter. You know, I know that you were, I believe, honored or recognized for all the things that you do within the community. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure. That's a, all these things is like, but God, right? And when I get into spaces and sometimes people say things to me and the acknowledgement coming back to me is just a humbling thing, and it humbles me instantly. Like, I get instantly humbled when people are like, let's talk about the things that you're doing. I'm like,
because you're doing, baby, you are doing.
But what I recognize in that instant is, like, I'm not doing any of this. Like, I'm just not.
Who's doing it?
Right?
Well, who
God
is doing it? Well, yes,
because
God is working through you and you are the vessel.
And I'm going to share why. Like, I heard something today and somebody said, well, it wasn't somebody, it was Sarah Jakes Roberts. Let me not discredit her for her words.
Come on, Sarah.
But she said, all you need to do is be a witness. Like, all you really need to do is be a witness. And I'm like, you're right. You're right. So when I get a chance to witness and be the messenger of what God's glory is, I have to do that. And I have to share, like, there was a time that I was like, this community fucking sucks.
Let's
like, I don't even want to be a part of Broward County or Miami-Dade. I want to just do everything outside of Florida because this community is not enriching me. It's not growing me. It's not supporting me. It's not doing any of these things for me. No one's referring me business from here. Like, I'm going out here and working hard, working this scene hard, and this scene ain't working me. So I need to find a whole new scene, right? So when COVID happened, I was like, I was in Buffalo, New York, Tennessee, building community everywhere but my community, my community. And I remember, like, maybe the next year because the first word was fire, the next word was obedience. So the next year, when I was in my obedience season, the obedience was to put seeds in this ground. You need to work your ground. You can't be all over the place. You need to start working within your community and making impact in your community. Even if they don't impact you, it is your duty to impact them. I was like, whew. So, he had me in the gym. He had me working on my endurance. He had me building up my strength. He had me doing all these things. And I was like, okay, we're going to do this, right? And what I came to realize is like God has his hand in all the things that I'm in before I'm even there, because I don't even understand this whole thing with BPN. Literally what happened is I found them on Instagram, and it was just for the summit. And I was like, let me go on the website and see what this is all about. And then something said, check to see if you can volunteer. And I did. And I volunteered. And in that volunteering experience, I got the opportunity to like be very close with Stephen A. Smith, which was like, what? Why me? I don't even belong to this community. How did
Stephen
I get here?
Smith.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even belong to this community. So how did I get access to this? That was one thing. But God, right? And so then I was still on the fence. I'm like, I don't know. And then I was a part of the Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I was doing stuff with them. That relationship kind of broke down, and literally it was like in the breakdown of that relationship, this relationship was being built, because I was seeing the founder of BPN like all the time now. Everywhere I went, she was just there. And I believe in the power of three. So I saw her about 3 times. And on the 3rd time, I told her, I said, you know what? This is crazy because I don't even know who you are. I went to your conference. We had conversation, and I loved what you were saying. I just never pulled the trigger. But now I'm seeing you everywhere. And the fact that I'm seeing you everywhere means that I need to be closer to you. So I'm going to sign up. I'm going to sign up so I can be closer to you, period. That's what I said.
Wow.
So I went home and I signed up. And literally, I signed up in February. By March, I am the chapter, one of the chapter house leaders. So I'm the leader of the diplomats. I'm the leader of the diplomats. And then, like, literally in like 2 weeks ago, I'm now on the committee. And this is all in like a 6-month span.
Wow.
So
congratulations.
Very fast because of my obedience.
Absolutely. Oh my God. That, first of all, that's incredible. And it even goes back to you saying like you're seeing this woman all the time in the power of three. I'm a big believer in the power of three as well. And you felt the need, the pull, the shift to be closer to the fire. Like just doing that alone, that's why you're in this position.
Well, and I wasn't shy about that. Like I didn't go and be like, oh, I told her exactly what it is that I want. I was like, I am signing up so I can be closer to you. That's it. Like,
period.
I'm saying what I want. I believe in there's another acronym that I use that's CARE, and it's creating relationships that last, articulating your expectation, resolve the conflict, and engage in your community. You have to do those things. If you really want to care, you cannot have care without telling people what you want.
Wow.
If you take the A out of care, it's no longer care. You have to tell people what you want, and you have to be, I would say to the fault of aggressive in saying it. You have to be upfront and direct and say, this is what I want. Because people can't give you what you want if they don't know what you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I told her, I said, I'm signing up so I can be close to you. And I could tell you, like, every meeting that I've had, she's in that meeting. She's always at the events. She is an amazing leader. And again, going back to the guidance, like, you want to be guided by people who are able to lead the unleadable. And I feel like I am one of those people who are just not easy to lead. So if you can lead me, you're doing something granular, because I am only led by God, really. And if God ain't leading me, ain't nobody leading me. And so if he tells me to submit to somebody's leadership, it's because they're high standards. They have high standards. They have high values. They are highly valuable people. And I want to be close to that. So I want to be led by her. Absolutely. And I'm close to her, and she's available for her followers. She makes herself available to be in the community so that people can be led by her, which
What's
is
her name?
amazing. Kanasha Paul.
Kanasha Paul, shout out
Yeah.
to you, girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So it's an amazing community to be a part of, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I just love this. I know we're going to have a part 2 coming soon. Just know. Is there any last piece of advice you would leave our audience with? You know, it's a lot of women, and there's guys who watch us as well. But is there anything that you feel like is on your heart that you want to close with or say to the community of women?
Yeah, I think one, I'm actually working on another project with another client of mine, and it's funny that her project is called Perfect Progression and your Pretty Girl Progression, but I think they have some kind of alignment because we're writing a book. I don't even know how I got here. I said, God, I want to write a book, and he's like, no, you're going to help people write their books, and you're going to write many books. You're not just going to write one book. You're going to have your hand in many stories. So
it is.
Okay.
Yes.
And so we're doing that. And this one is amazing because it's about, you know, the things that women go through as they go through the corporate experience. So it's an amazing project. But the one thing that I want to say, and I think I'm being led to say, is that progression, as imperfect as progression seems to be, it is perfectly yours. It is your progressive process. So we have to take time and be thankful that we're able to progress, and that every day is a new day, and every day we get another day to make a better impact. We get another day to do it over. We get another day to try again. We have to be thankful for these things. And I believe that part of being thankful is not to be in siloed gratitude, oh, I'm thankful for my house. I'm thankful for my podcast. I'm thankful for my people. You have to exude great gratitude. You have to share these things. You have to tell people why you're grateful for them. You have to tell the people who had a hand in the things that you have why you are grateful that their hand was in it. You have to be an external grateful person, not an internal gratitude person. So be grateful outside and have gratitude inside, but let it share that goodness. Because if you don't, you're depriving people of what they need to progress.
Bars. Okay, bars. Tollisha, thank you so much for giving us all the gems and taking time out of your busy schedule. Where can people find your book and also just be able to support you on social or anything else that you have? We're also going to put the link in the description for it.
Yeah, so everything that you need to know about me is living on Instagram or LinkedIn. I dabble a little bit in Facebook, but literally the places I play is LinkedIn or Instagram. And please check the links because the links have everything. Those links are I would say they are your mama's best soup that she ever made in her whole life.
Ooh,
you want to go there and you just gonna eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. You gonna get fat and full if you tap into my link. So tap in there. If you're hungry, eat. It's there. It's there.
Yes.
Eat.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, y'all. Give a round of applause for Tollisha. Again, the official glue. Thank you for sitting down with me. I can't wait to... my prayer was that people get value from this episode with you, and I think you over-delivered. So thank you so much. And
well, I always pray. My prayer is always that I become the vessel. Whatever I'm doing, literally, I take time before I get on any of these things that I ask God to edify my words, take over my mouth, take over my eyes, take over my hands, take over me so I can be the best product for you. I really do believe that. I ask him that every time. So some of these things that I said, I probably won't be able to repeat tomorrow because they just weren't me. It was God said, share it. And I did. And I think when I show up in that space, I can guarantee that somebody's going to be changed. I can guarantee that someone's going to be impacted. I can guarantee that someone's life is going to shift a little bit because I was willing to let God do his work.
Amen. Y'all, make sure you show love again in the comment section and just ask for her back. I'm going to have her back anyways, because there's so many things that you said that when I play this back, I'll be able to jot down and be like, oh, we're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about that. We can go for days. So thank you again. And ladies, again, if you want to tap in, everything will be in the description. Make sure you grab the free ebook, 10 Tips to Personal Development, and the daily devotional. And as always, Queen, love yourself.
Well, before we cut, I wanna take a little space and give you your flowers, really, because I think if we're here and people go, it's not only for me, it's for you too. And I want to tell you that I've seen your progression. And I also want to say to you that relationships are hard, right? And the way that you have been dealing with all of that weight has been so graceful, really. It's been such a graceful thing. And it's hard to put everything on display all the time. It's hard to be a podcaster. It's hard to be a personality and have a personal life, because everyone gets to say what they want to say about what's going on. So I think that you're doing a great job at your progression, and keep progressing, because it's going to pay off.
Thank you. Because we know it's been a little journey. You know, pettiness comes in, but I'm like, just relax.
It's hard to separate.
Everything's gonna work out.
It's hard. It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Like, separation is hard, but I think when you do it with grace, it looks easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate you. I hope you have a beautiful day. And ladies, love yourself.